how do other believers help us? Because we all know the zany stories of the Gestapo churches, the churches where everybody has to do the same thing and people are all checking each other and they live in constant fear of stepping over the line and being in the wrong place or being seen in the wrong place or doing the wrong thing or eating the wrong thing or wearing the wrong thing, or watching the wrong thing, and everybody's just, kind of like Gestapo Germany. Is that what the church is supposed to be like? No. In fact, two of the most interesting passages are in Hebrews. Now, let's just real quickly, because I don't want to get too far into this, because that's what we're going to look at tonight. But let me just introduce it. Hebrews chapter 3, verse 12. How do believers help us? Other believers, how are they supposed to help us? Here's a summary of what it says in chapter 3, verse 12. Other believers help us by speaking faith-stirring, hope-building words that feed our souls. Sometimes, some people are in such a desperate condition, they literally can't even get anything out of the Bible. And sometimes it's like they're in the hospital bed and they just came out of surgery and they can hardly move, and their family has to put ice chips on their tongues because they can't even drink. They can't even a straw. What would they do in that bed if the nurse just plopped the ice chips on the tray and walked out? They can't even move. They need someone to take the chips and put them on their tongue. That's the faith-stirring, edifying ministry that we have with one another. We don't even know what condition people are in. And when we speak faith-stirring words, hope-building words, it feeds our soul because we're saying, this is true and I've experienced it, and I'm confessing it to you. I'm testifying that this faith-stirring, strengthening truth has helped me, and I'm sharing it with you. So it feeds my soul, but also it stops the work of sin. Now look, I'll read it to you and then I'll show you. Beware, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God. Now, I know the context of Hebrews, and so do you. We're talking about those people that were hearing about the new covenant that Christ purchased on the cross and the new covenant that's in his blood, but they were wavering between that and the old covenant because they really liked doing and feeling. They did all this stuff and achieving, and they were not coming to God by faith, trusting in his gracious provision. Now, I know the primary context is those Jews that were wavering. But the fact that this is in the New Testament, and it was a part of what Paul was talking about when he said all Scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable, then I know it's profitable. So look what it says. Beware lest any of you have an evil heart in unbelief in departing from the living God. Other than the context of the first generation, it's what we all face. Every day, God and our flesh, the world and the devil, are assaulting. The world, flesh, and devil is assaulting us, and God is pleading with us. And every day, either we believe God and turn our back on what culture is doing, what the devil is shooting at us, and what our deepest desires of our flesh are, and we say, I will obey. Even though I don't want to, down deep in my flesh, and even though everybody else isn't doing it, I will respond in faith to you. I will go out not knowing where I'm going and not seeing and walking by faith like the book of Hebrews and Abraham. Or I will believe the lie of the devil, believe the crush of the culture, and I will respond to the lusts of my flesh. Do you understand that all sin is connected to either believing the devil, the flesh, and the world, or believing God? And if I believe God, it's faith, and if I believe the others, it's a temptation becoming a sin. All sin is connected to unbelief. That I don't trust or believe God, and I trust and believe and follow what is in opposition to him. That's what we all face. We all have a tendency to have an evil heart of unbelief when we depart from the living God and find the treasures of this world to be more appealing than the God we can't see. It's just a constant struggle. And in a moment, I'll show you a chart about it. But look what we're supposed to do to get out of that. But exhort one another daily while it's called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. Sin is deceitful. Sin is designed to confuse me into thinking that God isn't fair, or God isn't good, or God is out of control, or God is powerless. And this is better than him. And so sin is turning my back on obeying God by faith and turning toward the temptation, whatever it is. Sin is deceitful. And sin, look at verse 13, hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. Sin hardens us. And we need others to exhort us. Look at the beginning of verse 13. But exhort one another daily. Who are you in touch with that's a godly believer on a daily basis? That was the norm of the first century. They could not imagine being alone. It was so hard, so bad, they couldn't go one day alone. Exhort one another daily.